Hi, friends. I'm Christiana Gaudet. I am live on my Facebook business page. It's Thursday. That means it is time for the Tarot Topics weekly newsletter recap. So, do you get Tarot Topics weekly newsletter? It comes in your inbox every Wednesday. If you don't get the newsletter, all you have to do is go to my website, tarotbychristiana.com, in order to subscribe. Just go there and hit on the link for newsletter. People are starting to come into the room. For those who are here live, we will do some readings. And so I'm happy to see you here. For those who are watching in archive, I think you might, if you listen, you might find some things that are interesting and pertinent to you as well. So if you didn't have a chance to read the newsletter, here's what it's about. It's about transmuting energy. And so specifically, I am talking to you, you empaths, you highly sensitive people, you people who feel energy. And I think that's all of us to some extent or another. So what are we told to do? We are told to protect ourselves. We are told to avoid certain people and circumstances because the energy is toxic. The energy is hard to deal with. We've all been there, right? We know that. Hey, Dominique, nice to see you. Amy, glad you're here. Kim, Megan, Wendy, Karen, Barrett, happy to see all of you. What do you think? Do you identify as empaths? Do you find that you are sensitive to the energy of others? Barrett's like, I don't know what you mean. Of course, he is an HSP, a highly sensitive person. And you know, those exercises, grounding, protection, avoidance when needed, absolutely critical. But you know, sometimes we can't avoid. And it is also true, and this came up in a reading. I was reading for someone who's very sensitive to energy, and they were throwing some messed up energy around him at work. And he's like, man, I'm really sensitive to this energy. And what came up in the cards, and I thought this was really interesting, was if you can sense the energy, you can change the energy. I'd never thought of that before. He had never thought of that before, but there it was right in the cards. That's what came up. So Dominique says, I definitely stay away from bad energy when I can. Yeah, always a good idea, always a good idea. Stay away from fire, stay away from things that smell bad. I mean, as much as we can, we should stay away from those things. But sometimes it's in your workplace, it's in your family, it's something you cannot avoid. And so what we're talking about here is transmuting it. How do you transmute energy? And let's see, we have Amy's an empath, Laura's an empath. Oh, we've got a couple Lauras here. Nice to see you all Lauras and everybody else are welcome. So, Megan's not sure. Feeling energy in cemeteries, I mean, the thing is, you can pretty much always avoid a cemetery, right? This is more like when you're in the workplace and people are exuding negative energy or energy that you find difficult. How do you handle that? If you have a family member who throws out a lot of bad energy, and a lot of times people don't realize that that's what they're doing. Or they're really good people and they just happen to be in a bad mood. And a lot of times people don't take responsibility for the energy they put out. And sometimes you can't make them because they really are not aware of what they're doing. You see what I'm talking about? So... And Barrett says, I always feel spirits and the living. Avoid cemetery. Sure. And if you feel something in a cemetery, I wonder what that is. Is it the grief of the living? I think that, because people tend to go there when they are in grief, right? So let's get away from the cemeteries because that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about when the energy gets heavy in a place that you can't avoid. In the workplace, in your home, in a situation that you really can't do anything. I mean, yes, you can ground, you can center, you can protect yourself, but still it's going to be there. So then the question is, how do you transmute that energy? What can you do? Very often you can focus on pushing your own energy out in a way that will overtake it. Hey, look, speaking of bad energy, we got ourselves a troll. How awesome is that? Hang on a second. I want you, while I'm getting rid of the troll, I want you to tell me if you indeed have had situations in your family, in your home, in your workplace, where you have had to sort of deal with that uncomfortable energy, and what do you do about it? And I'll be back to take a look at that in just one moment after I have banished our troll. That didn't take long. Okay. And if these trolls message you, by all means, do not respond. Just block them, and report them. Please do not interact with them. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at what people have had to say here. Oh, no worries, Megan. Thanks for clarifying. Okay. Wendy, my kid is the empath of the family. Sure. Laura, I try to leave the situation as soon as possible. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. Absolutely. Kim, I find myself being attracted to it to try and change it. Which, if you can be successful in changing it, and if it serves you to be there, that's not a bad thing. But if you can't change it and it doesn't serve you to be there, that's an issue. Okay, Robin Renee, I had to end a relationship because his energy created an imbalance in me. Sure. Okay. Okay, Julie, many times each situation is different. I have a ritual with burning alcohol in a Pyrex cup that works well. So cool. That's one I have not heard of. And that brings in this whole other thing of using tools to get rid of energy. I will sometimes take my Ace of Swords from my tarot deck and actually use it like a sword, because it's such an anti-bullshit device, right? And just use it, energy be gone, so that's the thing you could do too. You can also use a crystal that way. Karen, I've been in a real funk. How can I transmute my own crummy energy? I do all the normal grounding, etc., but nothing seems to help. We're going to do a reading on that. Excuse me. Karen, what is it with you? Yesterday in my live, as soon as I read your thing, I coughed. I'm having allergy issues. But now I coughed on Karen again. Please excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'm sure it's not really you. Barrett, a selenite wand. Yes. Absolutely. Okay. Excuse me. So Kristen Cardona, interesting topic. Energy is hard to deal with. Wendy, it's tricky here where the energy of our entire city needs to be transmuted, right? Amy, if there is an opening for love, I have found it transmutes a great deal. That opening is not always available. Right. All good stuff. Kristen uses an aqua de fleur spray sometimes when in public. I put it in this little spray container that looks like lipstick I got off Amazon. That is smart. Okay, so I've already talked about like things that we can use, a spray, something that you can burn, a tool like a wand or the right tarot card to kind of cut the energy and disperse the energy. Amy has talked about using love. And if you can raise that energy in your heart chakra and send it out, that is huge, huge. Absolutely. Jeannie, I'm so sorry to hear your husband's back in the care center. That's terrible. Okay, so Jeannie, you sort of distract yourself with, your own mundane activities, and specifically like cleaning, which I think, as above, so below. If you're cleaning the house, you could also be dispelling energy. So let me go back to Karen, because we can always read on these issues, right? How can you transmute your own crummy energy? You're doing all the normal grounding, but nothing seems to help. And the first question is it really your own crummy energy, or is it somebody else's? So that's the first thing you're going to do if you're going to read on something like this, is you're going to look and you're going to say, okay, is this my energy or is it somebody else's? And I do sort of feel it is yours and it isn't yours. I mean, in some ways, it's related to the things that other people around you are dealing with. And, Wendy mentioned the entire city, but how about the entire country? How about the entire planet? We are in a very difficult time on a planetary level right now. And so that's a difficult thing, right? Robin Renee says, my family uses Florida water. We're Creek Indians from Alabama. Yeah, I never heard of Florida water until I got to Florida, but it's a thing, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in the workplace, it's hard to at your boss. But when you can. And the thing is, what you can do is you can write your boss's name on a piece of paper, go into the restroom, and put the Florida water on the paper. And that can really help. I swear to goodness, that kind of thing can help. Or whatever spray you use, that'll work. Okay, so back to you, Karen Winkle. So what would help? And again, I'm not confused. I'm not concerned. Let me choose my words. I'm not convinced. That's the word. I am not convinced that it is your own crummy energy. I think it's a culmination of a lot of different things that you're dealing with here. And I think what you can do is you have to really change what you're telling yourself. I think that you shame yourself for it. I'm feeling bad and I'm ashamed that I feel bad, and I think that makes it worse. I also think you can do something with your body. Put your body in a different position. Do a yoga posture. Get up and walk around. Change your body. Change the position of your body. And, and even in the workplace, you can do mudras. You can do yoga in your hands. And that can make a huge amount of difference. Okay. And Wendy, when we talk about the whole city, take a picture of the map, like the map of the whole city, and put some essential oils or Florida water or whatever, whatever, right there. It can't hurt. Okay. Oh, so Kristen, that really is Florida water. Cool. I didn't know that. That's so cool. Okay, Missy Lynn. There's been a lot of funky energy surrounding me for the last 5 months. I use crystals and chakras to keep myself balanced. There are times that the energy just won't shift. I'm not the only one in my house feeling this way either. So if it's a house thing, open up the windows, open up the door. You know what I do is I'll sprinkle salt on the floor and I'll sweep it all and sweep it out the door. That can be very, very helpful. So we're talking about a lot of remedies that we use here. But if I do a reading for this, and I think there's a real place for divination here, to do a reading, what's really going on here. And Missy Lynn, what's going on in your house is there's a particular person in your house who is the source of this. Now, I don't think you can get rid of the person, But can you transmute the energy that is coming off a person? And that's where, maybe putting a little sweet oil on a picture of the person might help. But I think it's also when you're around that person, really like use your breath a lot, not just in this case, but in all cases, remembering that the breath is the single most important tool in energy work and in psychic work and in magic. It's a trifecta. The breath, and just use your breath to kind of send a new energy in and blow that energy away. So work on what you can do with conscious breathing and what you can do with your breath. I don't really think it's anything attached to the house, Missy, in your case. But I think it's attached to someone, and I don't think it's external. I think it has to do with the energy that a particular person in your house is putting out. Okay, and Jeannie says, I've been burning fragrant candles a lot lately, which helps my mood. And Barrett finds meditation is very helpful for him. Okay, this is a good one from Julie. Another idea when you feel badly. Simultaneously pull energy from the first and the second chakras, cord to earth and from above, and breathe it out through the heart. That is so good, right? So from the root chakra, you're connected to the earth. From the crown, you're connected to heaven. Pull and breathe out to breathe out from the heart. That is beautiful. I love it. Okay. Varnica, what is this energy that I'm in? It feels different. I don't know if I like it or not. Honestly, I think you are in an energy that is actually moving you forward and challenging you to move forward into better happiness and success. And so you're going to like it a little and not like it a little. You're going to like it because it will bring you to success. And you're not going to like it because that's a challenge for more and better, right? And those challenges are always hard. Robin Renee, we used to pour libations for our ancestors in order to honor them and ask for their protection and guidance. Always a good idea. Always a good idea. Okay, let's see. Amy, do I use a particular salt or bless charge it before spreading and sweeping? It really depends. I mean, if I have access to it and it's tough, like if I'm dealing with a tough energy, I'm going to use black salt if I have access to it. I like sea salt. I like kosher salt. You can just go to the the grocery store and buy kosher salt, and that works fine too. And I don't really do a lot with it prior. But you absolutely could. Missy, thank you. Could the person have brought the energy and then left out of nowhere? I don't think so. I have a feeling that it's someone in the house right now. And it may be someone in your house who is really suffering, who's having a hard time. And you may not be aware of that. And I'm not saying that to make you worried. But I do feel like there's something there. Okay, Kristen, I like to walk. More specifically, pounding is good for me. Walking, running, drumming. Right. Anything with rhythm. Using rhythm. That's why we chant. That's why we drum. That's why weaving and knitting. All of these things can be very, very helpful and very magical, right? Okay. All right. So, from my perspective, I have handled every question. Barrett says I use the meditation you taught for boundaries and activation. Yeah, absolutely. All good stuff. So, what have we learned? We've learned that if you can't avoid the energy, sometimes you can transmute it. We've learned there's a lot of different ways to transmute energy. We've learned we can do divination around it. We've learned we can use tools like oils or Florida water or something like that. We have learned we can use stones or cards, or right, knitting, things of rhythm to help transmute energy. We've learned that sometimes we won't know where the energy is coming from. Missy, you got it. Okay, pretty sure I now know where the energy is from and how to handle it. Got it. Okay, cool. So, any other questions or comments? Of course, I'll be back tomorrow with your Friday weekly wrap up. And I do want to remind you, I am available for readings by phone, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger, Zoom. Just reach out whenever, and I'll look forward to working with you. And I do want to remind you that I do have a free class coming up on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Christiana Gaudet. That is Saturday, this coming Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We're doing tarot and pendulum, how to work with the tarot and pendulum together. Okay. Oh yeah, dragon's blood, Barrett. I love dragon's blood. It's the big guns. I don't bring it out unless I really need it, but I really like it. Robin Renee, we also stand over sage to clear our energy. That's a good one. I like that. Okay. Amy, it's interesting how we give the energy animism, although it's like germs that folks inadvertently spread many times. And I think what you're saying, it's that energy is simply our current state of being, or that of another. It's not malicious, it just is. True, although when you talk about the animistic aspect of it, there is this thing called the magical child, which is like when you do magic, what you are actually doing is creating an artificial elemental that goes out to do your thing. So there really is an animism there. And the theory then goes that if you're just like you're having an argument in a room, that energy comes out and it'll hang out. Sometimes you can see it. It'll hang out in the corners like schmutz on the ceiling. And in a way, it is living, because it is made of living energy and because it was created. And that really explains like mob psychology. When you can whip up a mob and suddenly these people would be doing things that they wouldn't normally be doing in that mob energy, it's because of this magical child, this artificial elemental that has been created. So it's a very deep concept here, really, but there's a lot there. But I agree with you, like we talk all the time about good vibes and good energy and bad energy. And I really like, what you said there, Amy, where, maybe we don't identify anything as good or bad. We just identify it as what we like and what we don't like. And this is an energy that's not feeling good to me, so how can I change it? Or not feeling like I like it. I just used the word good there. But I'm not liking this energy, so how can I change it? It's an interesting thing. Oh, thanks all for the love for this topic. I appreciate that. Okay, Christina Reed. How can I transmute the energy around all the stuff in my house so it can be cleared out? It's not all my stuff, but also a family member's. Oh, interesting. So when we look at the energy around the stuff, well, I think you're really impatient with it. I think you're impatient that the stuff is there. I think you're impatient with your stuff, that maybe it's cluttered or all of that. I think you have to let go of the impatience. And it goes back to what Amy was saying. It's not good or bad, it just is. And so if you take away the negative adjectives in your mind around that stuff, it will be much easier. The energy around it will change. Okay. Okay, very good. So the pendulum workshop is this Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time on my YouTube channel, Christiana Gaudet on YouTube. So Diana, right now I'm doing readings about transmuting energy. If you're having an energy issue, your own or something around you, and you need to know how to transmute that, those are the readings I'm doing right now. Amy, way easier to deal with something if we're not afraid it's out to get us. Yeah. And that's a really, really good point. In a lot of religions and a lot of spirituality, there is that sense of thinking that there is this evil other that is like, out to get us. And I just don't think that that is, usually the case. Sarah, how can I transmute the energy of my loud, annoying neighbor? That's a good one. I like it. So there's two things there. On one hand, you need to transmute your own annoyance. And on the other hand, it would be good if the neighbor stopped being that way. So to transmute your annoyance, play your own music and just breathe through it. To try to change the energy of the neighbor, I think that's where you want to be like throwing Florida water in that direction. Seriously. So for those people just coming in, I will be ending in the next few minutes. We're waiting for Diana to think of a question. But what we're doing is we're talking about transmuting energy. If there's a situation in your life where you're dealing with some unpleasant energy and you want to be able to transmute that, that's what we're doing. Okay, Diana, how can we transmute our own energy to stay positive in such difficult times? That is a brilliant question. Gold star for you. Because we're all in it one way or the other right now, right? So, and I guess each person is different, but if we were to do a reading on this for everyone, because we say, well, gee, just try to avoid the energy. The energy is everywhere. You can't avoid it. And I think a lot of it is to go to a place in nature or go to a place where you feel good and safe and just breathe that in, be in your own energy, breathe. Do that exercise that Julie suggested where you're bringing energy from the earth and from heaven and out of the heart, and let that surround you. Let that surround you. Okay. Let's see. Okay. How do I get better at pulling myself out of pity parties? From Barrett. I think a lot of that is an internal thing that you do where you feel like you're the bad one. It's not really a pity party. It's a beat up on yourself party. You're not feeling sorry for yourself. You're feeling like you're bad. And I think if you recognize the difference of that and you stop making yourself the bad one, that would go a long way. Ashrael, nice to see you. I've had sciatica for 5 years now. I've done pretty much everything in terms of physical and energy therapy. I don't know what else I can do. Any insights on transmuting this one? Yeah, that's a thing. On one hand, it really is a physical issue. I will tell you personally, I was in a car accident years ago and I suffered from terrible sciatica and it is gone. So I can tell you from personal experience, after years of suffering, it can go away. I'm not saying what was true for you, for me, will be true for you, but that's good. And what's coming up for me here is about breathing. And I recognize you can't just breathe it away. But I do feel like if you could do some really deep, focused, yogic kinds of breathing that might open up space to help make things shift to where they need to shift, in addition to the other things you're doing. Okay, so Amy, as far as transmuting energy, let's look for you about moving into this energy of sabbatical and what you need to know about cultivating that, the moon. So that's an interesting thing here. On one hand, it says just allow there to be space. Allow there to be space for whatever it's going to be. And there's a real sense of wanting to be, super organized and super focused, and let's make the best out of every single minute. And there's a part of me that says, oh, and just make space to let spirit move you as it will, because you have that space. So some combination thereof. Okay, and Jeannie, between Johnny's health, me being alone at home now, and a few major home repairs related to our septic system and laundry room, which is water and emotions, how do I transmute all this? Not easy. I'm sorry you're going through all this. And I mean, it is a battle. We cannot say that a really tough time is an easy time or a good time. We cannot say that. We have to recognize the battle, but what you need to recognize is you're equal to the battle. And I think that just that shift in energy from, oh my gosh, this is just too much, how am I going to do this, to, yeah, this really sucks, but I'm equal to it. I think that would help. That would help. Okay. Oh, and Wendy wants you to put your neighbor in the freezer. I am all about freezer spells. I really like those. All right, friends, thank you so much for a really fun and interesting conversation. I learned some stuff from you. I hope you learned some stuff from me. I'm having a hard time with words today. And yet, in the readings I've done, things have flowed just fine. So I don't know what it is, the difference between the energy of doing a reading and the energy of broadcast, but hopefully in my next reading, I'll get all my words right. So I want to thank you all so much for being here. And I want to remind you to come to my class Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. on YouTube. That's a.m. Eastern Time. Christiana Gaudet is the YouTube channel. If you're not a subscriber, please do become. And while you're there, subscribe to StarCast, STAARCAST. That is our podcast produced by Amy Mauser and Ryan Mauser in celebration of StarCon. All right. I want to thank you all so very much. I'll look forward to seeing you. You can schedule a reading with me right on my website, tarotbychristiana.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Check out the schedule of events coming up. The March schedule just went up. We've got a new premium class on Zoom. We've got a bunch of new events on YouTube, so check that all out and schedule a reading with me. I'll look forward to seeing you all soon.